Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Crazy Life. I'm Brian, joining me is Henno.
Howdy.
And no Jen this week. She decided to take the week off, so we should have her back and be full strength or something to that effect next week, I hope. So first off, thanks to everybody who's listening, joining us. If you're new, welcome. If you've been around for a while, welcome back. So here we are. So I don't know. I got nothing now. So how was your week, Enno?
It's been up and down. It's yeah. Those of you who are listening right now don't realize that Brian and I have been talking for 2 hours.
I know. I just looked at that. Yep.
And talking about music and stuff that we love, which has been a huge help because otherwise I would have come on here and been a bit of a downer, to be honest.
Me too, honestly. I think this was probably that pre-talk was probably good for both of us.
Yeah, like I really needed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of the way the week is right now. Stuff's looming right now for me.
Oh, that's
and
the
it's
worst.
Nothing major,
yeah.
But it's life stuff. And I mean, there's always life's always happening. There's always something that could be looming.
Yeah.
But for some reason right now, it just feels heavier.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
There's a level of uncertainty and to pick up on where I left off last week, I tore into my truck and I wasn't able to get it done by the end of the weekend, which is fine. I got a lot of stuff done, and it was actually a fluke. I found a part inside of my transfer case. So there's a magnet in there that's supposed to catch debris, metal debris, and there was this clip in there, and it was huge. I was like, what is this thing? And it's big enough where you're like, all right, this didn't just accidentally fall in here, but
yeah,
who knows?
Right.
And so I sent a picture to my buddy Lawrence, and I'm like, what do you, and it turns out his brother's a mechanic. So he sends it to his brother. He's like, well, it looks like a clip for this or that. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. And I almost put the case back together and something just didn't quite fit right. And I'm just like, nah, you know what? I'm going to get a couple of other parts. But I'll tell you what felt really cool was I've always been mechanical, but I haven't done anything like that in a long time.
Yeah.
Cause after I got done with jet skiing, I'm like, if my truck needs to get fixed, I'm paying somebody else to do it. I'm not wrenching on the stuff anymore. And it's been long enough now that I was actually kind of up for doing this.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, what the heck? No one wants to pay me the money for the truck yet. I'll just fix it and keep driving it. And so I got the seal kit and I replaced all of the seals, where the shafts come out of it for, the one that goes back to the rear and one goes to the front to the 4-wheel drive. And so there's all these seals and I really have never worked on that kind of stuff before. So it was kind of fun, I'm, using my makeshift tools or whatever. And, I sold enough gear. Oh God, that was my alternator went out also last week.
Yeah. You mentioned that. Yep.
Did I tell you about that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, that was $120. But luckily, okay, selling stuff, I can go down to the parts store and buy everything. So when I almost put the thing together and something didn't quite work, and I'm like, you know what, I'll get the right part for this and make sure that this works. Sunday, I get up in the morning and I'm going to take the bus to work, and I have to catch 6:45 bus because it's a Sunday. They don't run as often, right?
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm getting ready, and I looked down at my printer. And I see a picture of the clip sitting on a piece of paper that I printed out the night before.
Huh.
And I was like, wait, and I pull it off. And I printed off these pages because it had torque numbers, for when I torque everything back together.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be an entire article on this particular clip that fails. and how and what you now installed to replace it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, boy, I'm glad I didn't put this thing back together.
Right. Man, that would have been some trouble. Yeah.
Well, everything would have worked fine. Mm-hmm. It's just that in, anywhere from a year or two, whoever bought the truck would have had a leak pop out.
Right.
Because that clip is supposed to prevent another part from rubbing a hole right through the case.
Ah, all right. Well,
yeah. So somebody's come up with a stronger part now. So at any rate, I ordered a whole bunch of more stuff, and I'm like, I'll just wait this week. And the other thing is like, like last week it was freakishly warm here. We have an inversion.
I think it was kind of everywhere, like here too. Like we had a couple 70-degree days here. And, in Michigan, normally we're sitting around 50, 55 type range for our highs right now.
Yeah. And I think we got up into the 60s too, maybe even close to 70 on Saturday, I think it was. And now, like when I got done with work today, I was cold and I'm like, okay, I got to get this thing back together. But so I've just been kind of trying to take care of stuff around the house, and I'm just getting frustrated really easily with stuff. And I think it's this, I've actually enjoyed taking the bus. It's been kind of nice. I get on the bus and I read my book and have a nice, easy commute to work. And that part's been pretty cool. I'll tell you one thing, we always talk about, doing quote unquote our part for the environment. And one of the things that's never been easy for me to let go of is driving my vehicle.
I don't think you're alone on that. I think most people really don't want to, for whatever reason it is,
Yeah. And so sitting at that bus stop and watching how many cars go by with single people in every single one of them.
Yeah.
Made me really go, okay, am I ready to make this change?
Right.
Because there's a control thing with this.
Absolutely. Yep.
Convenience and control and blah, blah, blah. And I think of our good buddy Clint, who's, public transportation dude,
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I, whatever happens, whatever car we end up getting, I really hope I keep doing it.
Right.
Because not only is it saves me money.
Yeah.
but it's finally that last step that I really was never willing to do.
Right. Well, and like you said, you get on the bus, you sit down, you pull your book out, and
yeah,
you don't have to worry about the stress of traffic. I mean, obviously there might be, maybe if the bus is running behind or something, but you're probably still early enough. You've probably got plenty of time for work, right? Like even if it runs a little
totally
late.
like,
so.
Yeah, like it showed up a few minutes late and I was still early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
that was really relaxing. But I had this, I freaking I threw a little fit this week and I destroyed a mirror in my house on accident and it was huge.
Oof.
I'd gotten it from work.
Yeah.
Like I would have never been able to afford this mirror. It's probably 3/8 of an inch thick.
Oh, wow.
Like it was seriously heavy and it was at least 5 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide. I mean, it was a big mirror.
Wow. Yeah.
And I had a little hissy fit and threw something across the room and it bounced and guess where it landed?
Yeah.
It was like just crushed it. I was like, and I really didn't care just because I think it was summing up where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Like just this level of frustration and as much, I think, next week I'll get Thanksgiving. I'm going to drive home. Sharon's car needs some work, so we're going to fix that. And I think money's kind of starting to really, really, be scary for me.
Yeah.
Which it's never been.
Yeah.
Not at a point where I'm sitting here going, what am I doing?
Right.
Like I could go on with the status quo, but I really don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to improve the situation. You don't want to just coast.
Yeah. And so, as I've sold a few things here and there, it's, I tell you what's been great. I've been repairing my car and fixing stuff without using a credit card. Okay,
right.
That's great.
Yep.
Good step. But I've been selling stuff. And so like now that, I haven't sold anything for another week or so, like something comes up and it's all of a sudden like, oh, wow, I had that extra money now I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's a good thing is it reminded me of what it gave me the feeling of, oh, this is what it's like to have savings.
Yeah.
This is what it's like to have, for lack of a better term, your poop in a group.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. And like, yeah, it was weird. And so I was, I'm back off my video games again. I've decided I need a good 6 months of nothing.
Well, so what's your stress reliever going to be then?
I'm playing music again.
Okay. Well, because you mentioned before, like, yeah, that's why I was asking, because you had kind of dialed back music, you were playing video games, and that's kind of your release. So it's like, well, if you get rid of a release, you gotta, balance it with something else. Yeah.
And that was really what, how our whole conversation started.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
It literally started with me saying, I sent a text message to Neil saying, hey, I'm going to track this song this week. Do you want to do the Eddie Vedder part?
Yeah.
And Neil's always down to do a little Ed Ved.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
In this case, it'll be Ned Ved.
Right. Yes. Awesome.
So, and that's when I was I was playing my video game and I decided to do something I hadn't done in a while. And I was just getting so frustrated and angry. I'm like, you know what? Why am I doing this? Yeah. Delete this, delete. Lift the Facebook group, walked out of my clan. I mean, I was just like, didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Didn't decide to do one of those, this sucks, I quit,
Yeah.
But yeah, just had one of those things. And, I don't know if this makes sense, but it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, why am I not focusing on music? And then, I'm going to say this here and, some people, might know what I'm talking about, might not, was I found out that one of the podcasts I'm on, Moving the Needle, will be no more. Mm-hmm. And I actually was like, that's good. Because I have other things I should be doing right now.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like maybe a lot of what I've been doing this whole summer is just distracting myself in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost killing time.
Yeah, right.
Like being comfortable with the same old, not because it's comfortable, but because then I don't have to face what's probably right in front of me.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really thought of it in those terms. And so like tonight, Sharon, she's having a hard time at work. And she's been having a hard time now for a while. And a lot of it's that's just people and politics and stuff. She works for the city. And she got in the car and started telling me what happened. I'm just like, just go in tomorrow and put in your notice.
Yeah.
And now, granted, that was a very abrupt thing to say. And she was like, I want to talk about this. And I'm like, to me, your happiness and peace of mind is worth more to me than, because it's, we got the wedding and we got this. And I'm like, you know what? We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make it work. I don't have any fear in that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But seeing you seeing you come home from work in this emotional state where you're being pushed to do things that you don't want to do over and over again.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not for anybody, for you, for her, or whatever. Yeah. And you're right. It does sound like a very, so quit. It is very abrupt, but listen, I'm not going to lie. I went into a job where I wasn't feeling appreciated. I was told one thing. I walked in one day. I was being told I was going to be made an assistant manager by moving to this other store. I went there. I worked a few weeks. I walked in one day, looked at the schedule and saw my name was one step lower. And that means they hired someone else. And I was like, who's this? And somebody was like, oh, that's the new assistant manager. I was like, and I quit that night. I called my bosses and was like, I'm done tonight. I was like, I'll work the rest of the shift if you want me to, but I'm done at the end of the night. And I walked out of there and that was it. So, was it the smartest choice? Nope. Cause money was real tight for a couple weeks until I got another job. Luckily I was still living at home, so I had that cushion, but I honestly think even if I lived on my own, I probably would have done it because I had just had enough. And in my head, it was like, I think too much of myself and this is not going to be good. Like I know me well enough to know going into work after that, it was going to be just a mess, cause I'd be mad. And I was just like, it's just not worth it. And I just walked away. Like I said, would I recommend it to others? No, but at the time it felt right, and do I regret it? No, like I said, it might not have been the smartest play, but whatever, And by the time, one of the things that Sharon has hanging over her head now for a while is that she's so close to 5 years, which makes her fully vested. Yeah.
And it's a state pension, and you got to hit it. And so, but by the time we were done, hashing it out, it's like, well, you can give them till January. She's fully vested in the beginning of December.
Mm.
It's literally 3 weeks away.
I was going to say a few weeks. Yep.
And I think one of the hardest parts is that, this is the greatest part. I am with someone that is so much like me in that even when we get frustrated and even when we get pushed, we're willing to say, you know what? All right, I'm going to put the game face on. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Totally uncomfortable, but I'm going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because and we do it. And the problem is that you keep getting pushed back and you put the game face on again. And there's eventually where you're like, I have nothing left. I can't put this on anymore.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I love the fact that she was willing to do it. And then at the end of our conversation, I think it was once again like, okay, thank you for supporting me. I'm going to go try and put the game face on one more time.
Yeah. I know exactly what this is like because me and Jen actually went through this at one point too. She was in a job that was just horrible for her. And she would come home and I mean she was just wearing the weight of the job from the stress. and such, and to where she was just breaking down because it was just destroying her. You know, the stress was so heavy and stuff on her that she would break down at the end of the night and stuff. And her and I got to talking and I was like, quit. And I did the exact same thing. I'm like, if it's going to do this to you, it's not worth it. I don't care. And she was making good money, you know, and it's like, I don't care. We'll work it out. We'll figure something else out. Just quit. And, you know, and she was like, well, I got to this, you know, she kind of the same thing is after you talk it out, you know, you arrive at the same spot, you know, where it's like, well, I'm going to put the game face on and, you know, whatever. And she did for a while. And then finally she came home when it was like, I'm done. And I was just quit, you know, like, yeah, because it was the same idea is that you're letting them know that it's like, look, it's okay. You don't have to do this for me. You don't have to do this for us. We'll find some way. We'll figure something else out. And I mean, and again, financially, it may not be the best decision for some people, but sometimes you can't help it. You just, for your own sanity, for your self-worth, whatever it is, sometimes you just have to, you know, and other times you can kind of, like you said, put the game face on, go in there and eat some more dirt sandwiches, as we'll say. And, yeah. You know, sometimes you have to, you know, so yeah, but I understand it's nice to know someone supports you, you know, whatever you're going to do. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And that's been the really great thing about this last, I'm going to say month is, you know, and I already talked about it last week, is just that coming together as a couple.
Yeah.
And how amazing it really is to have a partner.
Yeah.
In this, you know, because I still have that mindset that I'm in this by myself.
Right.
And I'm not. I'm really not, you know, and, you know, today I was like, I got my, you know, my pay stub and I'm like looking at it and I'm like, okay, you know, it's like I work at a very generous place.
Yeah.
They take good care of us. I need to take care of myself.
Yeah. Always. Yeah.
You know,
yep.
You know, I go to work and I give my best and I have there's nothing negative about where I work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be taking a bad attitude there. I want to be taking a good attitude in my work.
Yeah.
Because if it weren't for them, I'd have none of this right now. And that's just the truth.
Yeah. And it'd be different too if they were giving you, you know, they're giving you the reason for bringing a negative, like my example of where I walked out. If I had kept working there, I would have felt like they gave me a reason for the bad attitude. I would have brought in every day after that, you know, because they told me one thing and did another. So I would have felt wronged and I would have been just hurt by it and continued to just fester on it. And that's why I was just like, for everybody's good, I'm leaving. You know, like it wasn't even just for me. I mean, obviously my decision was made for me. I wasn't like, well, you know, it's good for the company. No, at that point I didn't care about them. But looking back at it, it was best for everybody because, you know, they wouldn't have got anywhere near the work out of me that they were paying me for.
Yeah. You know, that would be a real deal killer for me too.
Yeah.
Suddenly I walked in and it was like, who's that?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yep. That's why I said everyone I told, there was never any person that was like, well, you should have. No, nobody was like, you should have given him 2 weeks. Most people were like, good for you. You know, like, yeah, exactly. I wish I could do that, you know, and it's like, well, you can. But again, it's like here in a week or two when I'm broke, I'm going to be like, yeah, maybe I should have stuck around maybe I should have just found another job. And then, you know, but actually it turned out really well because, I had been pushing myself, working a ton of hours. I had come off of a 4-year run where, and again, I'm not looking for sympathy on anybody. This is what happened was I was going to school full time, working at least 40 hours a week. Then I quit school because it was too much for me between the two. And then I ended up working more and more and more hours to where I was working close to like 60 hours a week, wasn't getting paid for 60 hours a week, you know, kind of a thing. So my stress level was just off the charts, and having a few weeks to where I didn't work, even though I didn't have any money to go out and really spend on anything or whatever, it was nice to be able to just sit and basically, recharge. And then when I went into the next job, I went in and I, full effort from minute one at the place, whereas if I had come right off that other place, maybe I would have carried some of my attitude with me and maybe it wouldn't have worked out well. Who knows? That gave me time to cool off, let it go, and just move forward. So, that might have been for the best, even though, like I said, money was super tight because I didn't plan it out to where I was going to get another paycheck. I basically had, I was in the middle of a pay period basically. So I got like half a paycheck, I got paid for like 4 days or 5 days. It wasn't even half a pay period. It was half a week, and that doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
And so I said,
yeah,
probably should have been a little smarter, but I don't regret it.
Yeah. And I know that like Sharon wouldn't do that, but boy, sometimes you just want to.
Oh, right. Oh man. I'll tell you, in my life, there may be, as far as work stuff goes, there's never been a better feeling than telling your boss to cram it basically. And when they try to, this and this, and it's like, no, you've lied to me before. I'm not having it. It's like, when I talked to my DM, I was like, you make it right now, or tonight's my last night. And he's like, well, you can't give me an ultimatum. And I was like, well, I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, I can't.
It's like, I'm not. I'm telling you facts.
That's true, yeah.
It's like, if you want to keep me, that's the only way to keep me. It's not an ultimatum. I'm just telling you. And if you're not willing to do that, that's fine. I understand.
That's fine. Yeah.
But tonight will be my last night. And oddly enough, the funniest part is they let me work the rest of the shift. So you would have thought they would have been like, someone would have come in to make sure I don't just leave this door unlocked
steal
or,
everything,
steal everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how you phrase that. It's not an ultimatum. These are the conditions of my employment.
Yeah. Exactly. It's really what it was. It wasn't, I wasn't trying to be semantical or something with it. It was just, that's the truth. Yeah. It was like, at this point, I feel wrong. The only way I will feel that wrong has been corrected is to give me what you promised me. And I never felt that I was asking for too much at that point. I had certainly put the work in, and I knew I had put the work in, and I just had enough. If somebody tells you they're going to do something for you a bunch of times and don't come through, at some point you're just like, it's the crying wolf scenario kind of a thing. It's like, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to prove, it's looking good. You just got to this and that. Okay. You do that and then nothing. You do the next thing and nothing. It's like at some point I'm like, look, I'm done. I'm not jumping through hoops anymore. You either do it like you said, or I'm out of here. And that's it. I just stood up for myself. That's the way I saw it,
Yeah.
I had already basically compromised myself enough times, because I was like, well, they'll come through. It's like, just, again, keep sucking it up, And at some point you just are like, no, I'm done. I'm not sucking any more of it up. I'm finished. I don't need this that bad. I mean, I need to work, but I can find another job. I'm a good worker. I've got a good track record. I'll find something. And I did. It was 3 or 4 weeks. I think I was unemployed. And then I found something else that paid. Wow,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that paid better anyway. So, and it was full-time hours. So it wasn't even like I walked into a part-time job. It was, so, well, actually, no. In between, I got hired in another place, and that place, when I was hired to be an assistant manager trainee, like, they're like, we don't hire people as assistants. We bring them in, then we train them, and then they become an assistant. And it was going to be through Christmas. After the Christmas season, I was going to become an assistant manager. That's the path they told me in the interview, right? They hire me. And when I called for my hours, cause they're like, call back on whatever day, we'll give you your hours for next week. What days you work and everything, your schedule. So I called and they only had like 22 hours for me. And I was promised 40. And I was like, you told me 40. Well, we had to hire other people. I'm like, no, you told me 40. And like, well, just come on. I'm like, if you don't have 40 hours for me, then no, I'm going to go find a job where I get 40 hours. So it was the same idea. I was just like, so literally what I told the other place was the truth. It's like, I'm done sucking it up for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story on that, but you're right. It's just some days it was such a good feeling. Just knowing, basically, you know what it is? It was just great to know that I took the power back in my life. At that point, I was like, you're not controlling me anymore. It's so rare with a job you can do that.
there's something that I think ties into a little bit about what we talked about last week about, disappointment and like some of the, like, for example, I've been staying steady. Luckily my car's up on top of, basically on blocks right now.
Yeah.
So I can't even show it. So, I still have tons of people calling me about the truck and the usual, what's the lowest price you're going to take?
Yeah.
None,
Yeah.
and I can tell them, I'm like, this is what I'm doing to it. I'm fixing it. The price gets firmer every day. And
True enough.
it's and it's like, I don't want to, when you get disappointed and you feel frightened and you have fear, you're more likely to compromise yourself.
Yep.
And it's nice to, like, right now I feel like, like I can go take the bus to work.
Yeah.
I don't need to, I'm going to take my time fixing the truck. I will sell it when I get the price I want for it. And then we'll buy a new car. And I can walk onto a lot right now and say, how much are you selling this car for? Yeah, I think that's too much. I'm going to walk away.
Right.
Let me know when you drop the price by, X amount.
Yep.
And if they do, that's great. If they don't, that's fine too. It doesn't matter.
There'll be another car. Yep.
Yeah. And I can think of other times in my life where I've been in that position. And one of them was the last place I had a lease on, and it was expensive. It was a very pricey place because it was in a commercial area. It was basically 1,000 square foot loft up on top and 1,000 square foot garage down below. That could be a commercial operation, right?
Yeah.
And this was coming off the economy. They were losing money every month on the place anyway.
Yeah.
And, the lease was coming up and we had done a ton of improvements to the place, and she wanted to raise the rent. And I said, no, I don't want to pay any more than this. I'll agree to do this, and this. We've remodeled the kitchen. We'll remodel the bathroom. But I want the price to be the same for 2 years. And if not, we'll move out. It's no big deal.
Yep.
Greatest position to be in.
Exactly. I actually just in a situation came up with that happened with my mom and her TV provider yesterday. And they were supposed to take money out, what'll be tomorrow, and they took it out 3 days early from her account. And it caused her to go over her account. And so as a result, you get an overage fee from the bank, and then there's going to be another one because they're going to run it again, basically. So what she did was she stopped the payment on it, but in order to stop it, you have to pay a fee to get them to stop it. So between the two, it cost her about $70. And I was telling her, I was like, call them back. I said, and tell them that if they don't make this right, you're done with them. And, luckily, most TV providers now, a lot of them are, you have to sign 2-year agreements. And I was, well, hers is up. So they don't have the power anymore. I was like, while you're under contract, they have all the power. You can't do anything, unless they breach the contract, As long as they provide what they're supposed to provide, you're stuck because you agreed to it. And that's fine. I'm all for honoring contracts, right? But now that the contract's up, it's a month-to-month essentially agreement is what it transitions into. But at the same time, it's like, look, this $70 worth my business going away. It's like every month I'm handing you whatever it is, $100 or whatever for the cable service or the, satellite service. It's like, is the potential loss worth $70 to you? So she called back, she did that, and they were like, hey, whoa, and I was like, exactly. That's the thing is once you realize, like you were just saying, once you realize you have the power in that, like I ran into that in the place I lived before here. I kind of had a situation with the person running the park that I live in, and, she was like, well, there isn't much you can do. And I was like, I can move out. And she's like, no, you can't. We have you under a contract. I was like, I didn't sign one when I came in. You guys didn't make me. I was like, you don't have anything on me. I was like, I can walk out right now if I want to. Like, it's like, again, it's like at that moment, I was like, I have all the power in the negotiation right now. So, and I'm going to use it because she would have used it. She tried to use it, in fact. Yeah. Until I was like, oh yeah, actually, while you were talking, I took your gun, Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, so when you realize you have those things, there are a lot of times, like you said, it gives you a confidence to it. And I'm not saying be cocky, don't abuse it, but at the same time, certainly look at it and go, hey, like even with your truck, as is before you put the work in, the buyer has the power because that there's this, and this that the truck still needs.
Yeah.
So you understand you're probably not going to get the offer you want. But like you said, it gets more and more firm the more and more work you put in because you're like, hey, I just did all this work on it and I'm coming in under book. It's like I'm giving you a ton of benefit for this price point. So it gives you that confidence in there to hold firm on your price. Or just go, screw it, I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I had a guy today that was obviously very mechanical. Yeah. And this was the guy I wanted to sell to from the get-go, is somebody who realized the value in it, could fix the things themselves.
Yeah.
Versus, I'm going to try to buy this for a deal and get my buddy mechanic to fix it for me, not to,
Yeah.
And that's not who I want to sell to. So this guy texted me today and he's just like, he's like, I told him, I said, it's up on blocks, I'm fixing it. He's like, I don't care if you're fixing it. He's like, are you going to raise the price after you fix it? I said, no, I'm not going to raise the price. I'm just putting some money in, I'm going to take care of some things on it and upgrade some stuff and keep driving it until I get my price. He's like, oh, well, in that case, I'm willing to give you what you're asking for it. It's a fair price.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you're the guy that I want to sell to.
Exactly. Yeah. He understands that you're adding value to it. It's similar to like a house. If you're going to sell a house, you put a whole new kitchen in it. And then someone, if someone goes, hey, will you come down and just be like, hey, we just put a brand new kitchen in this thing. We just added value by remodeling this room to the place, so. Like you said with that other place, you guys added value if you remodeled this or this in it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, so one of the big changes in my life after I got sober was I really looked at what things I had control over and what things I didn't have control over.
Yeah.
And I started to let go of some of those things that I grasped onto way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
The old let go or be dragged, right?
Yeah.
And I got dragged a lot because I put myself into situations.
Yeah.
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 And it really happened with relationships or, friendships or this kind of stuff. And it was like, all right, I give other people, places, and things a lot of control over me and my attitude.
Yep. That's what I was referring to like earlier when I said, I took my power back in that situation because that's really what it is when you do that stuff, you're giving away so much control of yourself. And I don't mean this in controlling as in the stuff like, we've talked on the show before about how there's an element of being a controlling person or trying to control this or this where you're trying to be manipulative with the control. It's like, this isn't about that. This is just when, like you said, it's like, I want the situation to be when I enter into that negotiation for like you with your truck. It's like when you enter into a negotiation, you want to be able to control your part of it. You don't want to have to give away all the power to someone else in that situation. And it's not a thing where you're just trying to be a power hungry person. You're just like, I want to get fair value out of my truck. And like you said, knowing what to let go of and what is worth clinging in or grabbing onto.
One of the things that jumped to me was like, so when the day that you just walked out of that job, that's the time. Doing something like that should give you tremendous amount of anxiety.
Yeah. Oh, it totally did. Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
But I bet it was different than the type of anxiety you get when you are completely uncertain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's something different about it. And I think that's what's been kind of cropping up with me lately so I think about when I'm in that position of where, when you're in the proverbial catbird seat, and you've got the quote unquote control. I don't think it's so much about that physical control as it is you're in a state of neutrality where you can actually think straight.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, your emotions aren't, I tell, a friend of mine all the time, it's like when we get angry and when we lose our cool, quote unquote, you might as well just walk into a boxing match with one hand tied behind your back.
Totally right. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes with these situations. When I have fear and anxiety and I'm walking into buying something that's significant or, whatever it is, something, trying to negotiate something at work or something like that. If I'm walking into it with a lot of fear and anxiety, I have one hand tied behind my back.
It's true. Yeah.
I'm willing I might get desperate. I'm not going to be smooth, and be able to just say, no, this is where I'm at. And I think that's what changed a lot for me in learning how to live my life differently, is to try to, not lose my cool, go into situations and not get, agitated, over, not get caught up in, what's right and what should be. Just, see it for what it is.
Yep.
Accept other people's positions and be more reasonable.
Well, that's a great point, because like when I walked into that situation with the job that day, I wasn't mad. Like when I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
I wasn't mad. Like when I called my DM and was like, what's going on? And he told me, it wasn't like I screamed and all this. I was just like, okay. And it was what it was I was done. And that was in that, so that was that difference, was like you said, is like, I recognized the situation going, okay, that's how they feel about it. This is how I feel about it, and it wasn't really an anger thing in the, so yeah, sorry, go ahead, jump in there.
Yeah. It's like, and that judgment is removed from it. And that's where I feel like right now I'm a little off kilter. There's this term I've heard, it's being on the beam or off the beam.
Yeah. And
when you're on the beam, you have you're not driven by fear. It's more about when you're off the beam is when fear, anxiety, the emotions are basically running. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm a little off the beam right now because I'm feeling anxiety that I ordinarily don't feel.
Yeah, sure.
Now the question is am I feeling normal anxiety?
That's
or is
the
it
key.
Elevated anxiety?
Yep, and that's the key. That's why all the work that we talk about on this show is so important, because that, the part of those tools is so that what is a normal amount of anxiety or depression or mania or whatever it is we've talked about.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, what is being able to recognize, okay, this is quote unquote normal. This is, Jen talked about it. I think, was it last week or where she talked about how her and I have had that conversation, like, is this crazy or is this not crazy? Or, and it's that kind of a thing is, sometimes, and it's tough to find that though. It's tough to, like, to use your terms. It's tough to get back on the beam sometimes. Other times it's not. Sometimes you just have there's just something, it's almost like turning a dial somewhere and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I needed. Like a while ago, remember we talked about like how you had quit going to the gym and then you went back to the gym and you're like, I feel this is what I needed. I was missing a little something in my life. And, so sometimes you just got to turn the dial a little bit. Other times it's like, well, we'll see where we, we'll see.
Well, and I think that's what my question is kind of coming up as talk about, having my own little personal, therapy session right now. Seriously, is what it feels like. Yeah. I'm like, this stuff's processing right now as we're talking.
So, Henno, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, here, let me lay back. Take some notes.
Yeah, I got a notebook up here. Yeah, people can't see that, but
you got to kick one knee up over the other and put the pad on there.
Right, I'm recording it so I can review it later. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And share it with a neighbor.
Right.
Listen to this goofball. So I wonder how much my distractions, whether it be, playing some video games or, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like not going to the gym or whatever it is, how much of those things keep me from knowing what's my baseline?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Am I hiding my baseline with this stuff? If I'm distracting myself, if a certain amount of anxiety is normal, but I distract myself so I never feel any.
That's a good point. Or you wouldn't notice the anxiety. Kind of like being hungry. How, like if you just keep eating, you don't realize you're full. But if you stop and listen to your body's like, no mas, and
Yeah. Or even like when you're hungry and you go, okay, I drink a cup of coffee and suddenly I'm not hungry because the caffeine just killed your hunger.
Right. It's distracted your hunger, or, something like that, or, it's very like those kind of things that it could just be that maybe you aren't seeing the elevation because you've distracted your baseline, basically. So you don't recognize that you're past it already, or you're past you're above your limit or whatever, along the way. And then all of a sudden, maybe if, maybe that you pass that tipping point, like, you have a level of tolerance that even though you're well over your acceptable amount, now you're so far over it that it's tipped it to where you can't, you can't ignore it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with okay, I'm a little bit hungry right now. I drink a cup of coffee. Okay, my hunger went away. And now an hour from now, I'm really hungry and I've got heartburn starting. and now it's too late, right? And now I eat something, but I'm done for the night because my stomach is basically,
Yeah.
And that's what I think is, this is where I feel like routines are good because they give us like kind of checkpoints.
Yeah, sure.
Of where, okay, this is something I do every day and this is usually how I feel when I do it.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel right doing this, then maybe something's off right now.
Yeah, that makes sense, sure.
And that's why I think like when doing something like a morning meditation or a reading or a walk that you're taking your dogs for a walk, or just yourself, just taking a little stroll around the block and having some quiet time, or anything that you do, like the gym time, getting on your bicycle, riding your bike, something where it's something you do routinely and you typically do it with a certain state of mind, that it becomes a good checkpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if nothing else, like you said, I mean, a good walk or whatever it is, or meditation or whatever, just that, removal of the clutter and the noise of life can be really good for you sometimes, to give you that clarity, cause like you said, I mean, if you walk into a room and there's like tons of noise, and it's that, like I can't hear myself think kind of a thing, because you're so distracted by all that noise. And then, like I said, if you meditate or whatever it is and you remove so much of that, you can kind of be like, okay, now you can take inventory, like you said, of where I am, what's going on, without, the distraction of a phone or a TV or your an iPad or whatever it is, so. I think those are really good reasons to get into that. So like you said, a good routine of something along those lines, even if it's your reading. I had a teacher in high school that said he started every day. He got up, personal hygiene stuff, and then he would go into his study. He'd play his guitar for half an hour, just whatever, whether it was just, noodling around, or he'd play a couple of songs, just, muscle memory practice, that kind of stuff, whatever. And he would, have some tea while he did it. That's how he got in his mindset for the day. And he's like, it cleared my head. It got me really to where the world kind of goes away for a minute. And then I was like, okay, now, cleared the mechanism. And then, and then was able to face his day. And he's like, I found that what that did over time was he's like, that melted the anxiety and stress of the day away for me before it started. It gave me to where I went into, like, he's like, I went into my day of teaching at full strength rather than getting up, running around, gotta get breakfast, gotta this, gotta that, kind of the mentality that I think a lot of people have, because a lot of people push their, time to get up. It's like, okay, it takes me an hour to get ready and out the door, so they'll get up like an hour and 10 minutes before work. They're pushing right against that. And you mentioned that before about leaving a little early for work, and so I think there's little things like that kind of help just clear the haze a little bit, so where you are personally.
And I think that's something that I think I've been introducing noise.
Exactly. That's kind of
I think I have been. Like when I come home, it's like TV's on right away. Sit down and look at the bank account balance, stuff, distractions,
Yep.
even though it feels like something that I should be doing or I need to do, but do I really need to do it?
Yeah.
Like at work, when it's lunchtime, I have no problem sitting down, even though I may have things like I could do, meaning like, oh, check the voicemails on the phone calls I got, or, whatever, make an appointment for this or that. I have no problem about sitting down for that half hour and making, grabbing my sandwich and reading my book and doing nothing else.
And and that puts you in a group of people that are way ahead, because there's so many people who eat at their desk and continue working, or like you said, they're introducing the noise of, oh, you know what, I haven't been able to check Twitter all day or Facebook or whatever, and they're doing that to where it's totally, and it's like, like any muscle, it seems like, giving your brain a break once in a while is not a bad thing. Let it kind of calm itself down, because like for me, maybe not for everybody, but for like me, if I get up and when I was at work and then during a lunch hour, if I had to keep doing stuff and then I finish my shift, by the time I get out of work, what happens is I feel like I've been redlining all day, cause there was no, there was no break really, So I got to a point to where most of the time, like I worked at Best Buy at one point and we got half an hour lunch, and the one I worked at, there was, there was a Boston Market right there, and I would walk across the parking lot to Boston Market because I got a little bit of a walk there, kind of help clear my head, because I worked at Best Buy through Christmas. So first of all, I had to get all the Christmas music out of my head. And then second of all, it's retail at Christmas. So, I'd walk across that parking lot, and just that walk outside in the cold just kind of snapped me out of the previous whatever. I'd sit in there, I'd eat my sandwich. Some days I took a book with me at one point, but with half an hour, you don't really have a lot of time to really get into reading, By the time I got over there and got my food, I pretty much had to, but I tried to enjoy it, not just, and run back over, And then I go back in, and if I found that those days that I did that, it made a huge difference. The ones where, I sat in the break room at Best Buy, there's still the Christmas music playing. You hear the hustle and bustle of the store. You hear people coming and going from the office. And it's just like, yeah, this just isn't, it's not giving me what I need. I need a short recharge is what I need, and the recharge is to turn the stimulation off, because I'm being overly stimulated all the rest of the time. I need to just turn it off, let my brain kind of, again, like picture if you just did a workout all day long, how your arms are going to be worthless by the end of the day. That's kind of the way my brain was,
I think that's something I really need to consider is I feel like I do this a lot where I life is the year is kind of in phases. Mm-hmm. Just like we have seasons, I think we go through our moods like that too. And we have, months that feel one way and then months that feel another way, and how the seasons come together, and, whether we have downtime or not, or vacation time, or this is the hard work period, or that kind of thing. I feel like I've been going through like almost like a motivational cycle.
Yeah.
But it's not so much it's like I drift away from what I know is going to bring me more joy, like long-term. And I like the term abundance. Uh-huh. Not abundance meaning like having a lot, but more like abundance, like I have everything I need. I don't need any more. Mm-hmm. Right? And part of that abundance comes from taking care of business, so to speak.
Yeah.
Where your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, and you're doing what you need to do. You're taking care of all those things in life that allows you to shut the noise off and walk away and do something just for enjoyment, because you don't have that's those stressors.
Yeah.
And I feel like lately I've walked away from those longer term goals, and I've been doing more short term kind of satisfying stuff.
Sure. Yep.
You know, like cramming a ton of podcasts in on a week sure makes the week go by fast.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
it sure does. Yeah. We talked about that a long time ago, you know, like that one week when I did, what was it, 4 or 5 across 5 days.
Yep.
And you're right, man, that week flew by. But by the end of that week, I was fried, you know, and
what didn't get done that week, you know, for your personal health, mental health, physical health, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so I think maybe I'm in another turn.
Yeah. I can see that. It makes sense too. I mean, plus the way life's you sometimes alters these things too. Cause I think the way life has kind of lifed you recently is very short term. Like it's very,
actually it has been,
you know what I mean? It's like stuff you can't kind of put off or slowly work on as much. You kind of have to face it right now. You know, like your truck, even though it's kind of it's not a long-term thing, but it's also not an immediate thing. It's kind of a mid-goal. But, you know, and like you mentioned the window last week, and like you said, and then not that far down the road, you've got the wedding, and, you know, these things are kind of, as the dial's turning closer to you, you know, but a few of these other things are kind of like hitting you right now. And, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, who knows, you know, a month, 2 months, you get through this stuff and then you'll probably be fine again. Just the way, like you said, it'll probably, you know, run its course and okay, you know, now what? And then life will be like, oh, hey, let me check this treasure chest of fun, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then you go, oh, well, Christmas is around the corner and you got to buy gifts and this.
Yeah.
But I think it's all, anything that I'm going through right now, which is, once again, luxury problems.
Definitely.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So it comes down to my attitude.
Mm.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I want to have that type of control that we started this conversation with.
Yeah.
I want to face these things with that level-headed, that smooth quality where, you know, I'm not getting spiked and throwing a freaking frying pan through a mirror.
Right. Yeah,
because I just bought it and it got scratched and it's Teflon.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that would make me pretty mad too. I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, Rrr.
Yeah.
But that
yeah.
You know, and you know, I'm not saying that, like, okay, a lot of things are going to change in our country here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't concern me too much, really.
Yeah.
But they concern people that I know.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point where I almost like, you know, I'm about to see my taxes go down. I'm about to see, I mean, hey, white guy here.
Yeah, right.
My white privilege is about to kick in full.
Yeah.
My hetero white privilege, right?
Right.
You know, and I have friends that are transgendered, blah, blah, you know, you name it.
Yeah.
Struggling with mental health issues, this and that. They're about to see things change. Really could be for the worse.
Yeah. It seems that way, at least. Yeah. You know,
and I hope it doesn't.
Right. And I'm one of those people, even though like you, I would potentially gain a whole lot because of, you know, being a white male and all, but at the same time, I'm a person who struggles with mental illness, and Obamacare has significantly improved my life because it's allowed me to seek medical help and not be turned away because, you know, oh, you've been diagnosed with depression? You're too much of a risk. So, you know, like because of suicide rates or whatever, or you have to pay way too much money for your care, you know?
Yeah. Or now.
So we'll see. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, we're going to see, you know, pharmaceutical companies allowed to buy each other out like crazy now and jack up prices on who knows what.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And
exactly. Yep. That's been one of my things is I've been, no matter what seems to be on the landscape with that kind of stuff, I'm trying so hard not to let it creep into my head.
That's it.
You know,
that's where I'm at right now. It's like, I feel like I have a lot of things that are trying to creep into my head.
Yeah.
And put me into places where I've walked away. I don't want to live my life like that.
Exactly.
In fear of things I have no control over.
Right. Exactly. And that's my thing is that, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And all I can do at that point is react accordingly, and that's the thing. It's scary. It could be scary. It may not be. Who knows? That's why I said it's not that I'm apathetic toward the whole thing, but it's more of a look. I'm going to look at everything basically how it affects me because that's all I can do. I can't control anything else, so I can control how I react. And I'm just right now. I'm a little scared. I'm tired of it all. I'm I'm very. And I want to be the guy who's hopeful. That's what I keep trying to be. So I'm just going to keep trying to push that way, because in the past I would have easily been mad and yelling and all that. And it's like, look, it's not going to improve my life if I do that stuff. I wish it could, but at this point, all I can do is, like I said, contribute where I can. I want to be the person who, for lack of a better term, I want to be the person who loves, not the person who hates. That's what I want to do with my life right now, and, everyone has their choice to make in this, but that's just where I'm trying to be because otherwise I'm going to let that stuff creep into my head. I'm going to get paranoid. I'm going to be anxious. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to be, just be torn apart all the time by this stuff. So I'm just going to go the other way. I'm as hard as I can, I don't know if I'll make it, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, I want to be the person that can say, "Hey, we'll work it out."
Exactly.
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I want to say it with, honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
Rather than be the person that somebody comes in and says, oh, are you afraid of this? And then head pops off. Ah, we're all going to die through the window, out of an airplane or something,
Right. Walking around with the, the old, the end is nigh sandwich board on and,
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm giving up,
right.
and I see why people get them, it's crazy how this consumer lifestyle of ours, how we can get ourselves so just tied up in knots.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Over what I perceive as important. This is something I talked to Neil about a couple weeks ago when he kind of, quote unquote, talked me off the ledge when I was really in a, down spot. I just needed to talk to him. I needed some perspective of a friend, who turns out thinks and feels the same things that I do and questions our retail therapy and questions our desires for stuff. And, and I needed to talk to a friend about it to realize, okay, I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
This, and, and yet we're in such good places compared to other things,
Yeah.
What do I really have to complain about in this life right now?
Yeah, exactly.
And if I do, it's my own doing.
Right. Yeah. For sure. I mean, obviously there's always elements you can't control, but you're right. Most of where you are in life, a lot of the time, it ends up being, what you've done to put yourself in that position more than it is someone put you in that position.
Exactly. Nobody's, nobody's behind me twisting my pinky right now.
Yeah.
I'm fully capable of that on my own.
Yeah. Right.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the perspective tonight. It's been great talking about music. It's like, that's what's important to me. I love art. I love that. And I love being able to clear out this clutter every once in a while.
Yeah. It is. It is so amazing how for years and years and years, I was I just everything. I just kept it how I was feeling and all these I just would always keep the stuff in, and when I did open up and unleash with people, it was generally oddly enough, it was either always over something I loved or something I hated, and it would be a political conversation. where we'd argue or I, rant about one thing or the other, or it would be about like comic books, which I love, and, those kind of things or whatever. And it was like, like I said, it was kind of like in a one extreme or the other thing. And, like I said, looking at everything now, I want to promote what we love and what we're grateful for, because I just think there's more that'll build us all that way, rather than widening the gap and yelling at each other and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm just tired of it. As people, I'm just tired of all of us just screaming at each other all the time, whether it's on the internet about, a cat video, or it's politics, or it's just like, come on, we gotta quit this. This is stupid. All we're doing is making, just making things worse and worse for everybody. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is when I have the attitude of poor me.
Yeah.
I'm so much more likely to point fingers at other people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think we all do that, because clearly you wouldn't have done something to put yourself in that position, or contributed at least. It was always, if that person in front of me wouldn't have stopped so fast, I wouldn't have rear-ended him.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe if you weren't tailgating.
Yeah, maybe if I wasn't driving like a jerk. Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't that close.
Yeah. Yeah, this so my boss shared me this is what. All right, I've talked a lot about the stuff that went on at my work, with you guys and the whole HR upheaval and all that stuff, and right. So this is a great turnaround, and I love this. So my boss comes in this morning, and I didn't go to work yesterday. I had a ripping headache all day, and so I'm back at work. Mm-hmm. He walks in, good morning, blah blah blah, this and that. We chat a little bit, and he tells me the story about sitting at one of these. It's one of those left turns where cars coming this way, cars coming that way. It's like you never seem to get that right moment that you can just jump out there.
Sure, yeah.
But there's a freaking turning lane in the middle, so you don't have to wait until both sides are clear. You just pull into the turning lane.
Right.
Well, people are kind of uncertain about that whole idea.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if here that's technically illegal, but people do it all the time. I don't know if it is there too, but here you're not supposed to pull into the turning lane unless, you're going to use the turning lane to turn. But yeah.
Yeah. So, but at least you get into it, you can keep moving, and then you can find your way in, right?
Sure, yeah.
And this person had the blinker going the one way, but kind of looked like they're going the other way.
Oh,
and like my boss said, he said it felt like freaking 10 minutes had gone by. And he'd had it.
Yeah.
And he had just come from the plumbing store, and he just goes around this guy, guns it across the intersection, turns into the lane, and all of the pipes in the back of his truck just rolled right out the back and onto the side of the road.
Who knew karma was sitting in the back of the truck and just pushed those things right?
And it was like moment of cool, gone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You had to flip a U-turn, go back around, start loading all the stuff while the other guy drives past him.
Right. That is a great moment of you'll never ever or at least most people will never ever learn their lesson in that moment, but that is a perfect learning moment. Yeah. That maybe you should just waited another minute and you would have been able to pull out fine.
Just fine. Yeah. Yeah. I shared the story of where I had one of those similar things where the guy was just not moving. I'd had enough, and I decided to go around him right when he decided to move, and I just smashed right into the front of his car.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
I mean, and nothing happened to it was in my truck. Mm-hmm. So basically my giant tire drove right over the hood of his car. I mean, it was so bad. Nothing happened to my truck at all. Like nothing. And this kid comes out. It was his mom's car. He just got his driver's license.
Oh, geez.
He was scared to death, and I felt so bad just because I was impatient.
Yeah.
And I just laughed. It was so great to have one of those moments of humility where you are humiliated, and now you can just have a little bit of humility about it. And I just loved my boss sharing that. And I'm like, wow, and I went, you know what? Things have come a long way at work.
Yeah,
definitely. This is great that we can have these, we can be a little self-deprecating and say, hey, you want to hear the stupid thing I did this weekend? And it was just that humanizing moment, where it felt great. And I just had such a great laugh.
That's the thing, is that feels really like one of those moments, you hear the thing all the time of, like, all I could do was laugh, like, cause that really, you're mad as hell at that point. But really, when you look at it, that's really all you can do at that point. It's like, you seriously, rarely in life do you immediately get your just desserts.
Totally, exactly. Like, immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
Moment of cool, gone.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just gonna go gun it, and you just clink, 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 clink. I'm like, oh. Now I've got to spend 10 minutes picking these up, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone that just saw me do that maneuver gets to drive past me.
Yeah. Like, and they could have slow rolled past him too,
Doing a slow clap.
Yep. Oh man, that's too much.
Oh, fun.
But there it is. It's what I said. It's a great. Yep, it's a great opportunity to learn a lesson there. That's what that was. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're probably at a point we should wrap up. So that's a good way to go out, though. So, especially after the part before that where we got pretty serious. But that's what we do. We're usually kind of all over the place here.
Yeah.
So let's see. What is it that Jen says? If you want to continue the conversation with us, you can check out our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can send us an email if you'd like to at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Jen's Twitter handle is at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. Heno, how about you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, and find me on Facebook, Heno Heiter, where I am no longer posting political things unless they're humorous.
Good. So that's one thing that's been fantastic since that is I'm seeing a lot less of that. I mean, they're different now, but it's still, I'm seeing less.
Dude, the cat video I just shared is awesome. Yeah. It's like that's to good cat videos.
That's what I like to see right there.
Yeah, also please
go ahead.
Oh, if you I've posted a couple of new theme songs that I've written for some podcasts up on Monkey Tongue Productions. If you want to go over to SoundCloud, look up Monkey Tongue Productions. I got some of my musical little goofs that I like to do over there. So
awesome. What was I saying here? Oh, you can also check the show out on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post like when the new episodes are live and everything. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. The other podcast I'm part of, which is Salty Language, can be found on Twitter at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so definitely don't play it around the children's. You can find our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. And, I also want to point out, again, there's a notes page on the groups, or on our group, that has a bunch of good reference stuff for like suicide prevention hotline number. I can't think of the name of that group again. I always forget it. But it's a site where they can help you find a therapist, and you can kind of put in like financial constraints and whatnot, and if you have them, and they'll help you find or put you with a therapist in your area. Just a bunch of stuff like that. Let's see, where else was? we are part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And, again, we ask everybody to, make sure you've subscribed to the show. And also, if you're an iTunes user, please leave us a review, because that helps boost us in the visibility when people go look at podcasts in our category and such. And or same thing if you're using, like, however it is you get the podcast, like Stitcher or whatever app you might use. If they have a like or a share button, please use that for the same reason. And I think that's all that. Then I'll remind you that, we're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals, just a couple of people just sharing our experiences and things we've come across here. Please don't mistake the show as a replacement for therapy. If you need help, please don't just WebMD what's going on. Go and self-diagnose. Go to a doctor and talk with them about everything, or get part of a group or whatever it is that is a good path for you. And then, of course, if you're feeling suicidal, or you're having thoughts of suicide or hopelessness in that way, don't wait until it's like end stage kind of stuff where you're really going to do it. If you find yourself planning it or really thinking it through, how you would do it, writing a note, anything of those type of things, contact someone in your support system, your doctor. If you have insurance, a lot of times there's a number you can call for mental health stuff. Go to our Facebook group, use one of those references. Just please don't be alone, and please don't act on it. And I think that's a show. So
that's a show. Yeah.
So thanks for listening, everybody. And Henno, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah. Don't forget to wiggle your toes and keep breathing.